Hello, everyone. Welcome to Central Mississippi Advanced Toastmasters Open House. How to write right now, find your voice, and write your story. We have a terrific meeting tonight. I am Sunny Fridge. I am president of Central Mississippi Advancing Toastmasters. It's a pleasure that all of you are here in the room tonight. And if you ever wanted to know some information about writing a book or continuing your book journey, you're in the right room. So we are going to get started with a little inspiration. I'd like for our club coach, Gloria Ransom Crossley, to unmute herself and please share some inspiration to get us started.
Fellow Toastmaster, distinguished Toastmaster Fridge, and fellow Toastmasters. There are 7 things to remember when going through tough times, and I would like to share those things with you today. The first one is everything can and will change. The second one I want you to remember is you've overcome challenges before. The third one is it's a learning experience. 4, not getting what you want can be a blessing. 5, allow yourself to have some fun. 6, being kind to yourself is the best medicine. And 7, there is always something to be thankful for. I want to share that with you. We're going through so much now with the COVID-19. I want to just give you those 7 things to remember. I hope that it has inspired you. Now I turn it back to our distinguished Toastmaster Fridge.
Thank you so much, Club Coach Gloria Crossley. Thank you so much for that word of inspiration and the 7 things that we need to remember. And definitely gratitude, an attitude of gratitude is the way to go. Let's start this meeting right. We have someone to lead us. He has said before, change is constant, growth is optional. Tonight, we are going to grow. Our Toastmaster of the day is a dynamic speaker and published author of 2 books. Willie Johnson is a motivational speaker and consultant who specializes in the areas of professional development, communication effectiveness, leadership, and personal development. For more than 20 years, he has been transforming professionals into better leaders and communicators. Toastmaster Johnson is a DTM and a member of New Deal Toastmasters Club in Bentonville, Arkansas. He is also a new member with Central Mississippi Advancing Toastmasters. Please help me welcome Toastmaster Johnson.
Woo! All right. Thank you for that introduction. And I am not going to do a lot of talking. I am going to get this show on the road because I know that everyone wants to get out of here before midnight. So I am going to get this show on the road where we are going to have several things this evening. And the first thing that we are going to have is a poetry reading. And then after that, we're going to have a moderator and to talk to a group of ladies about writing your book. And by a show of hands, how many want to learn how to write a book? We have some of that. And then after that, we are going to do some table topics. So you might as well get ready. It's called Table Topics, Speaking on Your Feet. And then we will introduce some of the officers of the club so that they can give you some valuable information about the club and how you might join the club. So without further ado, we are actually going to get started with that poetry reading. But first, let me introduce our poetry reader this evening, which is none other than Dr. Janice K. Neal Vincent. She has a book entitled A Little of Me and a Little of You, spoken word choir book. And this is a collection of original poems by the award-winning Dr. Janice K. Neal Vinson. And I turn it over to you.
I am honored to share my poem with you tonight. It is a poem that has taken me back to my early childhood days and coming on up to the present day. I believe you will find some joy in this particular poem because the icon who is expressed here is one we all are familiar with. Of course, she is no longer here with us this year, but she has left so many fond memories in her songs and in her movements. I am speaking none other than the famous Aretha Franklin. Aretha Franklin, as you know, was an American singer, songwriter, pianist, and civil rights activist. So this poem I've called Aretha, Queen of Soul, Mesmerizing Minds. Find yourself here. I was sitting on the patio in my chair, and I heard Aretha Franklin's voice on the air. Her palpable tones took me to a place of peace, and there was no way that my listening would cease. While rocking and swaying, I jumped up on my feet. Aretha's melodious voice just couldn't be beat. Aretha is the queen, queen of soul. Get with the beat, come and rock and roll. Several friends came over and started talking, but I waved my hand for them to keep on walking. They started walking, but Aretha, Queen of Soul, sang a song that made them rock and roll. When I knew anything, they were shaking a leg. Sing, Aretha, more, more, they started to beg. They danced so much, they didn't see Uncle Jackson, who came grinning and patting them on their backs. Aretha is the queen, queen of soul. Get with the beat, come and rock and roll. We strutted forward, stepped backward, and turned around, turned up the music and drew a whole new crowd. Dance with Aretha, dance with Aretha, we all yelled. The blasting sounds were so loud, we didn't hear the doorbell. A policeman swiftly came and told us to tone it down, but he raised his hand and shook his body to the ground. Face it, anybody who hears Aretha soulful tunes is bound to be lured like a magnet to them very soon. Aretha is the queen of soul. Get with the beat, come and rock and roll, rock and roll.
Yes, yes, yes. Woohoo!
All right, all right, all right.
Thank you. Muchas.
All right, thank you, Dr. Janice K. Neal Vinson, for that outstanding poem. As we continue the program and get down to the business at hand and get this panel underway. But first, I must introduce the moderator. And the moderator is none other than Dr. Sonny Fridge, who is not only a distinguished Toastmaster and the current president of the Central Mississippi Advancing Toastmasters Club. She is also a coach, a speaker, and trainer with the John Maxwell team. Toastmaster Fridge coaches individuals and groups in the areas of leadership development, professional skills, and personal growth. Toastmaster Fridge is also a real estate agent with Century 21 and has authored several books on home buying and the selling process. And last but not least, Dr. Fridge spent more than 25 years as a media professional and is now an award-winning Toastmaster and broadcaster. She is the host and producer for the WYTV7 show and podcast, Rise and Shine with Dr. Sunny. Toastmaster Fridge.
Thank you very much. Everybody, welcome. It's a pleasure to be moderating this panel, especially if you ever thought about writing a book, or maybe you put it on the shelf, or you just stopped dreaming. Today is the day to dust off your dreams and think about writing a book, getting started. Zig Ziglar says you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. As we start, would you all just put in the chat your name, and if you're affiliated with a Toastmaster club, who you're representing? Would you do that so that as we look into the chat, we'll be able to engage with you a little bit more? Also, if you like something that's been said tonight, there are reaction buttons at the bottom of your screen if you're on a desktop, and you also will find it near the More button if you're on a device. And if you'd like to give us a thumbs up or a hand clap at some point, feel free to do that. I want to actually do a poll. Leslie, would you launch a poll? There should be a poll down below. Not everyone may be able to get on the poll, but about 19 of you are able to right now. So we're just curious as to how many books you read or you think you read. Right now, it looks like more than 73% of you read at least 2 books a month, and 27% of you there are about 9 other people who still may want to vote. But right now it's looking like 27% of you read 3 to 6 books. Nobody really is saying they read 6 to 9 books. But if I was to vote, I would actually say I do read about 6 to 9 books, but some of them are short and they can be ebooks. So whoop, whoop for me. All right. And I'm sure many others have it. So would you go ahead and end the poll? So the majority of the people typically read 3 to 6 books in a month, and that's great. It's not really so much that you have the knowledge, but it's what you do with the knowledge that counts. So thank you everyone for taking that poll. So now it's time for us to meet our panelists. Our first panelist is Tasha Hart. Tasha has been a Toastmaster for the past 5 years, and during that time, she has acquired her Advanced Communicator Gold status. She has also participated in breakout sessions, contests, and she gave a keynote speech during our district conference in 2019. I remember that. Joining Toastmasters has enabled her to speak on the topic of purpose, as she has written 4 books. It includes her first children's book that revolves around that topic. Her passion for speaking and helping others keeps her involved in Toastmasters, as well as continuing her education in communication. Currently, Tasha is VPE of Daybreak Toastmasters, and she holds the first place title for the recent 43 International Speech Contest, which she participated in the speech evaluation contest. So let's give her a hand for that. Anybody who does have their audio on, or put your hand claps together for her virtually. Hand claps together for her virtually. Our next guest is Carrie Perrion-Smith, MBA DTM. She is a training, communication, and publishing industry veteran. Since running screaming from her corporate training and communications career in 2001, she has run a company called Soar with Eagles. It primarily serves the needs of speakers who write and writers who speak, and the occasional political candidate. She is also the author of 2 business books, and she currently serves as the Toastmasters Area F3 Director for the 2019-2020 year. And she felt the call to public service. She now serves as a Justice of the Peace, one of 15 individuals who serve on Benton County's legislative branch called the Quorum Court. She loves long naps and short walks, and she does the short walks from the parking lot. She is the lead singer in 2 local bands, a folk rock band called Home by Daylight and a 60s and 70s tribute band called Party Line. She also has a website called soarhigher.com. And last but not least, Meredith Coleman McGee. She's an author, poet, book publisher, lecturer, and small business owner. Her works include Odyssey, Nashida, Mississippi's Old Capitol Museum, James Meredith, Warrior, and the America That Created Him. Nashida visits the Smith Robertson Museum, Married to Sin, Casado al Pecado, my picture dictionary, and my first book series. That's a book and a volume of 6 primer books. It's interesting how you can put books together. And she is also the niece of civil rights icon James Meredith, who hails from Mississippi. So welcome to all 3 of my panelists. I would love for each panelist, Tasha, I'd love for you to start first, unmute yourself. And Tasha, if you would share, each of you will share your book writing journey. You'll have 3 to 5 minutes to go ahead and just share with us how you found your voice and the process so that others who are listening will be able to ask you some questions. You've got the virtual lectern.
Well, thank you so much, Toastmaster Fridge, and welcome all Toastmasters this evening and honored guests. I am so honored to be here and just share with you how I found my voice when it came to publishing my first book. I would say that I never thought that I would be a published author. It wasn't something that I set out to do initially in my life, but once I got going, I got the writing bug, and I've written 4 books so far, with a 5th about to come out. What got me to find my voice was the passion to help others and help them find their voice. And in the process, I just continued to ask questions and push and push. And that desire came from growing up in a small town. I was primarily raised by my grandparents. I spent a lot of time with my grandparents. And again, a small town, you just struggled, and you saw your neighbors struggle, and you see what happens when people don't have a voice, when people don't have a platform to share what they're going through in life, and even the wisdoms that are shared among family and neighbors. And traveling, like I said, I was primarily raised by my grandparents, and I just wanted to make my grandfather proud. He's a janitor. He would sit me on his lap, read the comics to me, taught me how to draw from the comics, and I just wanted to spend my life proving that he left a legacy in me. And that is one of the things that I do when I talk about purpose, is I share how that legacy through family, through friends, through support is valuable, and it deserves, no matter who it's coming from, whether that's you or someone you're supporting as an author or a writer, it deserves to be valued and it deserves to be heard. And that passion has pushed me to find my voice when I didn't think that I was going to. And so now, 5 books later, I'm continuing to do that and use that platform.
Thank you so much for sharing, and we will be asking you about some of those books as we continue this conversation. I'm going to unspotlight you.
All right.
Thank you very much. Let's show her some love with those virtual hand claps. Again, that's reactions down at the bottom, and you can always give her a hand clap as well. Our next speaker is Meredith McGee. Meredith McGee. Welcome, Meredith Coleman McGee. You're also right here in Mississippi.
Oh,
Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm a Mississippi girl. It's so wonderful to be here. And the question is, how did I find my writing voice? And I think it was a evolution. After college, when I was in my 20s, I submitted an essay to Ebony in a contest, and I didn't win because it was then when I was uh, reading a lot. I might at that time I might have been reading 5 or 6 books a month, but I was reading a lot of fiction. But then also I started writing for the Jackson Advocate newspaper after college, and I think that was a big part of me finding my evolution because in newspaper writing you get to learn how to interview people and how to do two-sided stories. Now, how I became a published a poet first. I think that was in 2006. I entered into a competition, and my book was placed in. And Billie Jean Young read some of my poetry, and she encouraged me to write, and my aunt encouraged me to keep writing. And how I started writing books, actually, I started a typing and writing service in 2003, 17 years ago, and um, Classic Printing, um, Miss Willow Womack on Fair Street sent me with. Um, she thought it was a typing job, which is beginning of Married to Sin. And when I looked at this large, um, it was a lot of tablets. I realized that it was a writing job, and then I started interviewing uh, Darlene Collier from Rankin County and helping her get her story out there, which was a tell-all memoir. And also, my mother wrote um, a children's book on my uncle because her friend, who's a school teacher in Memphis, this is all in the same time, same year, um, asked her to write a children's book on my uncle because there was no material in Memphis on him. So she wrote it, and then she told me, after they asked me to write a summary, which they didn't use, she told me, well, you write the adult book, and I did what she told me to do. So that's how I started writing the first 2 books, a memoir and a nonfiction biography of my uncle in the context of the America that created he and his generation.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Our next speaker will be panelist Carrie Perrion Smith.
Thank you, Sunny. Hey, fellow Toastmasters members and esteemed guests. It's so good to be here with you. Some of you are old friends, not actually old, but old friends of mine. So anyway, so happy to be here. Hey, my story is really kind of different because I kind of spent my whole career in the publishing business. And when I started thinking, hey, I have a lot of knowledge I'd like to share, I'd like to be a speaker, I started hanging out with other speakers, and I was writing an e-zine, which is what you sent out to your email distribution list back in the early 2000s. And so I was writing these e-zine articles, and they were, 1,000, 1,200 words. And I was one of those people who never bought a book in the back of the room. I saw speakers all the time, but I never bought their book. And I made an assumption that nobody else bought their books either. And one day, Andy Core, who was kind of mentoring me through National Speakers Association's Oklahoma chapter, pulled me aside and said, hey, why don't you take those e-zine articles and turn them into a book? And I said, nobody buys books. And he goes, pay attention. People buy books. And so I did. And so I assembled them and I wrote a few more articles, and that became my first book. Now, I will tell you, it was 40 pages, and it wasn't one of those that I went, oh yeah, this is something I'm really proud of, but it was a great venture into it. And that's kind of how I got into the the focus of my business being writing books for speakers, because if you speak, you must write. And also, the dirty truth is, if you write, you must also speak. And so that's how so many people, you know, experience finding their voice in Toastmasters as they became writers first and realized they had a chance to reach a bigger audience. So yeah, it's not super exciting. It's kind of a technical avenue. I just wanted to share what I knew and have a revenue stream in the back of the room when I spoke.
All right. So we have heard from all three guests. And so now I know that there have to be some people here in this room who want to hear from you, that you are sitting where they want to be. So what I want to hear from you is maybe some tips. This is for the person who wants to write a book, but they don't know where to start. So again, I'll start with you, Tasha. What would you say to someone? And then we'll go to Meredith, and then we will go to Carrie.
I would say for someone that wants to write a book, to start where you're comfortable. There's so many different tips that you can get from across the board. I would say start with where you're comfortable. For me as a writer, I like to start at the end and then work my way backwards, but that's what makes me comfortable. I feel like if I write the ending or the purpose of my book or my story, then I have a map, I know where I'm headed, and then I just kind of map out, how did I get there? Well, how am I going to get my readers there? So if you are trying to figure out, well, where do I start? I have all these ideas and these thoughts. I would encourage you to think about where you want the reader to end up. Where do you want them to go when you're done sharing whatever wisdom or nuggets of information or your story? What do you want them to walk away with? And if you can narrow that down and then just back up a little bit and start at the beginning, it'll be easier to walk them there if you know where you're going. That's my way, my process. But again, that's different for everyone. I think once you have something on paper, I know I had anxiety when I wrote my first book because I was thinking, I have this one thought, this one nagging thought. How do you turn a thought or an idea into an entire book? And so I'm appreciative of Carrie's comment about 40 pages because that's about what I had. And I was just so nervous that who's going to read this? Who wants to read this? And so you just have to also get some people around you that will support you when you're having your nervous breakdown. So I appreciate my husband and family and friends who, when I was on page 5 thinking, this is crazy, what am I doing? They encouraged me to just keep writing. So that's something else I would encourage you to do, is just think about what it is you want the reader to walk away with, and then get you some support and keep writing.
Amen. I love it. Keep on writing. And I love the part about the dream team, so to speak, because you've got to have those people who want to let you rise and shine. And they're also not afraid to tell you, a few things in terms of some feedback. I think you told me your hubby was one of the people who said, you should write, you can do this. So you had your support.
Yes. And you're right. They have to be brave enough to confront you when this is kind of dragging on, like, get to the point already. And I've had that. My husband's like, you could have said that in 3 sentences. And I'm like, but that's a whole chapter. I drug that out. More pages. So again, it just encourages you to dig deeper, think about what's going to capture your audience and still convey the information.
Okay, wonderful. Meredith, well, that person who's still just wondering, where do you get started? Now, you are a self-publisher, or actually you help people become self-published. You're a publisher. Tell us about what advice that you would offer for someone who wants to figure out where to start. And then I'll ask Carrie to also share being a publisher.
When people contact me because they're interested in writing a book, first I find out what kind of book they're trying to write.
Okay.
If you're trying to write nonfiction, then I think that you should do some research. And I also like to tell people, if you are handwriting your book, it takes about 2 handwritten pages to make one typed page. And in a chapter, you need maybe at least 16 pages for a chapter. And if you're writing a novel, a small novel is 50,000 words. And then a novella is much smaller. But I think that everyone should start with an outline. And also, I think that if you have not read a lot, if you're trying to write a novella, I think you should read some novellas before you try to write it, because a lot of times reading helps a lot of people understand storytelling. And also, even if you're writing fiction, you still need an outline. And I like the idea of starting with the end. That is a great tactic that people use. They start with the end, and then they come all the way back and come and catch up with the end. But I think that when you have your chapters named, then you have some guidance. It's because sometimes if you're just writing and writing and writing without any direction, everything will be all over the place. Then you have to turn around and go back and organize.
Wonderful. Those are some great tips right there. So you had me when you said 50,000 words. It does sound like, wow. I was just at the 2 pages of the 2 handwritten pages. For me, it's been ebooks. I found joy in either taking some blogs that I've written, and then it ends up like a little bit like Carrie, maybe ending up as an ebook, because you can call yourself an author of that published ebook. Carrie?
Just to build on both of them, on what Tasha and Meredith both said, you know, I'm a believer of starting where you're at. And so if you just need something to put out there, it's okay to put out an ebook or a white paper. A white paper is a shorter version of an ebook, and build up to that. If you're just writing blog posts, or maybe you're going, hey, I haven't written anything, where do I start? Start a blog. There's some free blog resources out there. The purpose of blogging is just to get your mind working, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be done. Done is better than perfect, especially in the beginning. Now, one of the techniques that I use for building speeches, but for building books, is that I first brainstorm my topics. And those could be scribbled on little pieces of napkins, toilet paper, wherever you are when you get the inspiration. And put those in a folder that you keep in your cabinet. And then at some point, pull those out, because nobody just sits down one day and goes, I'm going to write a book and I'm going to push through. Actually, there are people who do that, but it's not reality for most of us. So you pull that folder out and you begin to sort those out and organize them. And for those of you who know what a mind map is, that's the technique that I use to organize. And I'm going to do a very low-tech share here on what a mind map might look like. But it's, you basically organize it that way, and then I'll number those. And then I'll take each of those topics, each of those lines on that chart become titles and subtitles. And then I can sit down and write on whatever I want to when I'm ready. So I don't necessarily need to start at the beginning of the book. I can wake up one morning and go, or at 3 a.m. in the morning, which is more likely, and sit down at my desk and, you know, pound out 2,500 words for a chapter on something that my brain was on fire for when I woke up. So that's a great tool for organizing your speech. And it could be, and that technique doesn't necessarily work for a novel, but I work with people who write nonfiction. They're writing self-development. They might be sharing their story, which is fine. You can do it in that in a chronological order, but it also allows me the freedom to move those chapters around. I may get into my book and then realize, oh, section 4 isn't really what I thought it would be. Let's move it up to section 2.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So right now, in the time that we have left, yeah, that's right. I would love for the audience, if you have a question, would you just raise your hand and then I'll ask you to unmute. So let me put it on gallery view and see if there's someone in here who has a question. Anybody have a question for our authors? Yes, Leslie, Dr. Haynes, Dr. Leslie, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm a guest tonight, and I really appreciate being here. I'm also a budding author myself, and I have self-published a book that I'll talk briefly about later. But I wanted to know your perspective about self-publishing versus going through the traditional publishing route and finding a publisher. Which do you think is best, particularly for a children's book?
Good question. So who would take this first? Okay, Meredith.
One of the biggest difference between self-publishing and finding a publisher is, so first of all, we have to look at, you have the big five. That would be Simon and Schuster. They look for famous authors, or they find authors who have an agent. About maybe 2% of people get an agent. So, you know, publishing has went from 250,000 people 10 years ago to now 1 million people. So when you that's why we have so many self-published people, because it's hard to find a commercial publisher. I found a commercial publisher with my second book, but that was after 16 rejections. So the advantage, if you go with a large company, of course, one of the big fives, you might get an advance and you get on Good Morning America. But a mid-sized press or a small press, you would have a local avenue for presenting. You know, you won't be able to get on Good Morning America or maybe some of the national outlets. Now, self-publishing versus any press, even a small press. A small press has an imprint. They have a collection of ISBNs with their imprint on it. When you're doing your first book, it's usually better to have some kind of guidance, because if you're writing a novel and this is your first time, you don't have any guidance, then you might take to market, because it's self-published. You can put anything up there, and you might not have a plot, or you might not have good characterization. You need some fact checking, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. Someone has to fact check the work. That is the advantage of having an acquisition editor, because an acquisition editor is going to give some guidance to that novice writer. And that's very important. And that's a kind of the difference between self-publishing, a novice author self-publishing, or using someone else for guidance. Maybe I think that's if you did, you know, use someone else first and then went to self-publishing, at least you would have had some guidance. But to go straight to self-publishing, sometimes you can end up without the guidance. It's not, I wouldn't advise it all the time.
Okay.
Sometimes.
All right. Well, I know that Carrie has some insight on that. And also Tasha has written children's books, so I would love to hear her perspective. I personally think it's great if you can get guidance, but sometimes the best book is a done book, and then you figure it out along the way. But I digress. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm excited to hear what Tasha says about children's books too, because I work in nonfiction exclusively with experts and business professionals. But I will tell you what I tell people who come to me and ask me about writing children's books. Go to the bookstore and pick out a children's book that you like the format of, and look at the imprint on it. That's the publisher. And go to their website and look up their author requirements, because they're going to give you some insight. I am a big believer that all people who are going to be professional speakers and business consultants need to own the rights to their content. But the children's book market is very different. You know, it begins and ends with who you're going to sell the book to. And if you already have an audience where maybe you go to a library or go to, you know, book readings at libraries and things like that, and parents, I mean, you may have a YouTube channel where you read to children. I mean, there may be a reason that you would have an audience already that you could sell to, but especially with the children's market, I think it's really good to go to the publisher. I don't know, Tasha, what do you think?
Yes.
Well, I agree with both you and Meredith. You both made some very valid points. I agree, Toastmaster Meredith, that you would benefit from some guidance if it's your first book. And I do believe Toastmaster Carrie is correct when she suggests that you check out or do some research, go and find a book that you like. It really depends on what your end goal is. And like Toastmaster Carrie was saying, if you already have an audience, that could make the road a lot easier for you. The children's book that I did, I'll just tell you briefly, I already had an audience because the book I wrote about my pastor who was born on the mission field in Africa, and he used to imagine things in the rain barrels out in the fields, and they would collect rain, and that was part of his imagination. He used that illustration during a sermon series about imagination, and I wrote it down. I was sitting in the pew, wrote it down, and I was like, that would make a cool children's book. Well, I didn't tell him about it. I just did a little research, like you were saying. I found someone to do the illustrations, do the illustrations. I had never done a children's book before, so I did, like Carrie suggested, I researched some children's books that I liked. I looked at how they were designed, and then I found somebody that could do that. I asked them, can you do this? Because I've done self-publishing, and I've done a hybrid of publishing / self-publishing, and I can explain that later. But anyway, the point is, I kind of went the self-publishing with this one, but it's more of a hybrid because I had somebody that's been on that side of it that walked me through it and actually did all the hard work as far as making it presentable and got it out there. But if you have an audience, again, our church is pretty large. So once they found out, oh, this children's book is about our pastor and his childhood in Africa, and these animals are coming out of a rain barrel, there you go. I really didn't have to do much after that. However, I've written fiction. I have a fiction series, and the legwork behind that is huge on self-publishing. It's huge. You do pretty much all the legwork if you don't go through a traditional publisher. So it just depends on what kind of children's book you have. Do you have an audience, and what kind of work are you willing to put into getting it out there? Now, there's so many routes.
Right. And I think with Dr. Leslie, she'll explain later, she's already written a book. And so now she is probably looking for a publisher. So hopefully at some point she will find the answer that she's searching for. We actually have to keep on going to our next a part of the meeting. However, I would just like to just ask you just parting advice, because I appreciate that you were able to share some good insight for those who just are sitting on the fence and they're not sure whether or not to do it. It sounds like you're saying just at least start. You can just start writing, and at least that will get the juices and maybe some inspiration flowing. I've heard others say that if you just write a little bit each day, it can make a difference. If you force yourself to just write. Writers write, just like speakers speak. Carrie?
So the most important thing that I would tell you is that writing the book is the easy part. Selling it is the hard part. And it's really important to know before you start writing, but definitely before you finish the thing, that you need to know who you're writing it for. Don't try to write it for the whole world. Write it for a specific target market, because the tighter you niche, the more successful you will be faster. And it's so much work, and you're going to make an investment. And then also the people that I'm kind of retiring from the publishing business and going to work on just exclusively my work. And so what I'm doing with my authors now, who have been in my traditional, kind of they've been in all the channels and everything. They're not really selling books. They're not, it's not a big focus for them, but I want to keep it out there in the distribution channels. I'm moving them over to Amazon's. It's what used to be called Create Space. Now it's KDP Direct. It used to be Kindle Direct. So anyway, so that, and it's a super easy utility. You can download templates. You have a variety of choices. You can't do hardcover that I know of yet. And you can't do spiral binding or anything, but most of what we do is going to be a 6-inch by 9-inch paperback book. I've been pleased with the pricing, especially for the author copies, especially since I work with speakers and they need to buy books to sell in the back of the room where they can make the most of their money. And I mean, it gives you a chance to get it done. It gives you an image that you can scroll through and see if you've got all your layout right. You can order a sample copy and touch it and feel it and mark it up, and then upload a new copy for free. I mean, there's just so many advantages over what I've been doing for years. So that's where I encourage people to start. If you can't afford somebody to do your page layout for you, start where you're at and get what you've got done. When you sell a few books, I mean, they've got cover templates and stuff. They're a little cheesy, but for the most part, they're better than nothing. And so sell a few books, raise a little money, get somebody to go through and professionally lay out your book, have somebody professionally write you a cover, but just grow into it, but don't wait. And especially if writing isn't your jam, write some blog posts now, and you can always turn that over to an editor to professionally edit into chapters, multiple chapters. So that would be my advice to you. Start where you're at and know who your target customer is.
Oh, okay, thank you so much. And as we wrap up, Tasha and then Meredith. Final thoughts.
I'm going to quickly piggyback off of Toastmaster Carrie. I just released that children's book on Amazon, so I can vouch for what she says. You get to keep the rights, the copyrights to your books on there, the ISBN numbers and things. It's a whole experience. They make it easy for the author to control. I will throw this out here in terms of tips. I know one of the biggest concerns I had is my English and my grammar and editing. I was being quoted in the thousands to have my book edited. And what I ended up doing is calling the colleges and working with interns, college students that are going to school for editing and writing. And I got partnered with the college student that it worked out great. He's edited all my books. We've just become great friends. He got college credit from his professor for reading my books, which means the professor had to read my books. So I was getting double the editing for super, super low. I would tip him, take him to lunch, but he was getting something, I was getting something, and he's done a phenomenal job. So that's one area to look. Another thing that can save you money, I don't know if you've heard of it, is Fiverr.com. And I've gotten my book covers, I've gotten illustrations done, marketing materials done, Fiverr.com. It's sometimes you want to do a little trial or test, go with somebody, not a real expensive product. It's Fiverr because a lot of the products start at $5. So I test first with a small product. If I like the work, then I might go in and do some more. That can get you by. But again, it's just starting somewhere.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that. And yes, I love Fiverr. That's where most of my freelance help comes from.
Yes.
And I wish I had put my affiliate link in there tonight. Okay, and finally, Meredith, who actually has also done a children's book on YouTube. That's one of the resources. Everyone on the line, you will be getting a virtual gift bag at the end. It has resources from each of our panelists and participants from tonight. So go ahead, panelist Meredith, closing comments.
Hey, thanks. And actually, when I first started writing the biography on my uncle, his advice to me was write every day. So that's a given. That's important. You have to be consistent. The other thing is that when I started writing children's books, it is easier to write a children's book than it is to do a biography on someone when you have to interview 60 people. It took 4 years to do those first 2 projects. So those are more advanced things. The other thing is, I think that if you're going to do a novel, which is a huge project, historic fiction, or a biography or a memoir, then you really do need an outline. And I think that it really helps, especially if you are a novice person, to read other memoirs and other biographies. And everybody needs a business plan. I had to submit a business plan before I got my contract with a commercial publisher. And that's something that I ask people to do, because when you sell to, just like in insurance, you first start selling to the people that you know. When you run out from the people you know, then you got to be trying to sell in Japan, India, to the world. So a book proposal will help you develop a plan for branching out and selling from hand sales and online. But as everyone said, you must start, and you have to be consistent, and you have to really work hard, because doing a book, especially a certain kind of book, takes a lot of time to do, a lot of effort.
Okay, well, thank you so much. You will get the information for each participant, for each panelist. Just before we end this meeting, I will be putting that file, guest Artemis. You will get the information. So thank you so much. Let's all give our panelists some hands or virtual reactions. Thank you so much, Tasha Hart, Carrie Perrion-Smith, and Meredith Coleman McGee, for your insight. This was very much like a networking session. Of course, you can't just write a book tomorrow necessarily, but hopefully this has opened your mind. And now that you know that you've met these 3 individuals, perhaps you'll connect with them in some way or ask a question. At this time, I will pass the virtual lectern back to our Toastmaster of the day, GTM Willie Johnson.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And panelists, thank you.
Yes.
I took that one thing away from: to get a book written, you have to write. So the next part of our program, and did y'all notice I said so, and I have to stop that. But anyway.
We are not doing counting odds tonight, so you're safe. And grammarian Mary McClendon has been asked not to give her report today, so you're safe this time.
I had to shake my head because my mentor Mary is watching, and I am watching her also, because after this program, I am going to make sure that she starts writing. Our next part of the program is called Table Topics. Table Topics. And let me just give you this one sentence. Table Topics is a long-standing Toastmasters tradition intended to help members develop their ability to organize their thoughts quickly and respond to an impromptu question or topic. Our table topic for tonight is none other than Toastmaster DTM Leslie Hayes.
I want to thank you, Toastmaster of the Day, Willie. Yes, I want to thank you for that introduction, Willie Johnson, that's it. Now for table topics, you will be timed and you will have 1 to 2 minutes to answer the table topic that will be given to you. At 1 minute, we will see the green. Our timer, Toastmaster, I think it is Toastmaster McClendon, and she will show the green flag. Okay, when she finds it. At 1.5, it will be the yellow. And at 2 minutes, it will be the red. For anyone who is new at Table Topics, we ask that you speak until you at least see the green. So that means you may have to stretch it just a little bit. I will read the topics 2 times, and then I will call upon someone. Your first table topic tonight. If your life was a book, what would the title be? And we'll give you time, I'll read it again, and we'll give you time to unmute yourself as well. If your life was a book, what would the title be? Toastmaster Grayer.
Thank you, Madam Table Topic Master. Fellow Toastmasters and an honored guest, I appreciate it. If my life were a book, what would the title be? I would give the title A Yazoo County Girl. Why? Because I was born and reared in the 82nd county of the state of Mississippi, in Yazoo County, a rural area with my mother and my siblings, my grandfather who was a farmer. I would want to talk about my granddad being a farmer with cotton and soybeans, butter beans, okra, squash, watermelons, all of the fine things that he would grow in his garden. And every day after school, the students in the neighborhood after school would jump on the tractor with my granddad, go to the field to chop cotton or to pick cotton. And you'd be able to appreciate that because my title would be A Yazoo County Girl. And these are the kinds of things that would take place in a county environment versus an urban environment. The title of my book would be, I might change the title to A Happy Yazoo County Girl, because I enjoyed my life growing up in Yazoo County. And then I would want to highlight the fact that out of the 82 counties in the state of Mississippi, ours is the very last. And that means we are the best in the state of Mississippi. So, Madam Table Topic Master, I would entitle my book, A Happy Yazoo County Girl. Madam Table Topic Master.
I want to thank you for that wonderful table topic answer. Now for the next table topic. What is your favorite type of book to read and why? What is your favorite type of book to read and why? Toastmaster Isabel Kadori.
It depends on what kind of question I try to find the answer. I'm not a patient person, so I very rarely finish a whole book, but I do read a lot, and especially when I have a question, I look for answer. I will search internet. I will quickly scan through the articles whether they might have the answer for my question, and if they do, I will read in detail. So really, I'm really kind of a person just search for information. and read it. Back to you, Madam Table Topic Master.
All right. Okay, Isadora, I'm gonna have to work on you. You know you're supposed to speak to the green girl. We'll move on. In organizing a bookshelf, how would you organize it? Would you organize it by the size of the books, the color of the books, or the author's last name? In organizing a bookshelf, just one bookshelf, would you organize it by the size of the books, the color of the books, or the author's last name? Toastmaster Davis, John Morris Davis.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster Hayes. To my Toastmasters and honored guests, I would organize my books by size. I say that because I'm a very organized person. So I can see books all over the shelf, small, large, here and there. But I will organize by size, and next I organize them by color, because everything flows in one direction, and it keeps my brain together, and it also looks very well when people come around and see it. So therefore, I will always have them organized by size and color. As far as author last name, I don't say it'll be good for a library, but it wouldn't benefit me. So therefore, that would be very beneficial for me, and when I get ready to read, and also helps me keep up with where I put books in that matter. So thank you, Toastmaster Hayes, for that question.
All right, thank you. All right, great answer for that question. Now, for the next question, I would like to pick one of the guests.
We do have Tavis Mayotte from Capital City, who's here from Michigan. She's on tonight.
Okay, we'll go ahead on and give that to Toastmaster Mayotte. How do you feel about a library, Toastmaster Mayotte?
Thank you, Table Topics Master Hayes. And it's just thrilling to see all of these people from down south. It's an honor, actually. And special guest. How do I feel about a library? This is a really interesting question because my mother, she passed this year, but some of the fonder memories that I had was when I was a little girl. And she shared that she was 12 or 15, and grandmother was not very literate. So in order to get the attention that she needed, she would pile books, just read books after book after book, just sit in a corner and just read these books. And so they took her around the world, India, Asia, anywhere she wanted to go. If you saw Outlander, you'd kind of know where she was at, with trying to picture in her mind how she wanted to look and where she wanted to go. So that was extremely intriguing to me, and it passed on to me where I became a hoarder and just had to have my hands on any piece of information, whether it fell out in the street, I'd pick it up and I'd read it. She took me to the library where I got a library card and read, and we'd have tea parties with these books. She'd read me bedtime stories, Cinderella and Snow White and the Bible, of course. So I really had a fantastic time just relishing information. I did not want to be ignorant of certain things that happened. So this was just such a treat for me. We had encyclopedias that she ordered as well. So I had a fantastic life with the kaleidoscopic view and information of books. Madam Table Topics Master, thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful answer. And let's give a hand to all of our table topic speakers. That was great. Now I return the virtual control to our Toastmaster of the evening, Toastmaster Willie Johnson.
Thank you, thank you. Now, fellow Toastmasters and guests, it is time for us to hear from some of the officers of the Advancing Toastmasters Club. And the first person that we're going to hear from is from the CMAT Secretary and Treasurer, Evelyn L. Baugh. But let me tell you just a few little things about Evelyn Baugh. Evelyn joined Toastmasters to improve her communication skills. It has helped her become a better communicator and leader in her home and community. She continues to stay in Toastmasters to become even more proficient in communication and leadership skills. And what she likes most about Toastmasters is how it has helped her become a better communicator in her family. And last but not least, she says that her interpersonal communication development has proven its value, notice keyword value, in her life. Toastmaster Evelyn Baugh.
Hello, everyone, fellow Toastmasters. Thank you, Toastmaster Willie Johnson. Well, I'm here to share with you what the mission of Toastmasters is. And you've heard my introduction. I couldn't have written it better. One of the missions, or the mission of the club, is to empower individuals to become more effective communicators and leaders. It also provides a supportive, hear that, supportive and positive learning experience in which the members are empowered to develop those communication and leadership skills, which results in better self-confidence. Now, I want to point out to you some core values that I really hold true to my heart and dear to my heart. Those core values can be looked up. You can use the acronym as RISE. R is for respect, I, integrity, S, service, E, excellent. Toastmasters strives, and the club strive to keep respect, integrity, service, and excellence in all that we do. Now, I do want to share with you that we are, Toastmasters International is in 358,000, or it has 358,000 members, and we are in 143 countries around the world. Let me give you a few pointers about the benefits that Toastmasters has. Now, that they give them to you in a particular order, but I want to give them to you in my order, that what I think is real important and how it's benefited me. One of the first benefits of Toastmasters is that it helped build self-confidence and self-awareness. And certainly I have become more aware of self-aware and confident in my speaking. Number two, I've enjoyed the unlimited personal growth from the day that I started way back in 2000, and we're going to start with 2001 and not go back farther than that. Also, I've enjoyed the maximum potential that it offered me, and I'm maximizing daily and improving that. I also have gained a competitive advantage at my workplace now. Granted, I am retired, but I'm working on a part-time job, and I do feel that Toastmasters has allowed me to be more competitive in my workplace, even though right now we're in a virtual world. Number five, it will help you to improve your public speaking skills. And I say that to number five because lots of time people will say, join Toastmasters to do public speaking. Well, I submit to you that public speaking is just speaking individually with a person. But in case you want to go on the broad horizons, you can go to public speaking nationwide. Number six, build leadership skills. Number seven, work on networking in a small and supportive environment. And finally, number eight, and that brings us to the heart of this whole entire meeting. You can practice writing speeches and presenting in a small group. Well, I tell you, if you do that, you are certainly on your way to writing a book. Some of us have been writing books for a long time, but after today's Toastmasters meeting, we are certainly going to start. We had some good information from the presenters, and as you can see, when you're a part of Toastmasters, you have an opportunity to stretch worldwide and pull people in, and we learn from the best. Back to you, Willie.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, fellow Toastmasters and guests, it is time for me to slow down. Because when it comes to talking about your mentor, you need to make absolutely sure that you get it right. Our next presenter is a two-time district governor. She has held every office within a Toastmasters club. And she has been a member of Toastmaster in excess of 30 years. And not only is she a member of Toastmasters, she is the CEO and president of her own training and development company. And as if that's not enough, she is a dynamic corporate trainer for Nissan USA. What more can I say about my mentor and your friend, DTM twice over, Toastmaster Mary McClendon?
Toastmaster Johnson, I owe you a lot. Look for your check in the mail. Are they still using mail?
Yes.
Fellow Toastmasters, most honored guests, especially Toastmaster Fridge. Toastmaster Fridge has a way of putting fire under you. And I put this together just for me. And I think she expects me to make a move. And I think I'll make her happy, and I'll make a move. And I'll start writing tomorrow. Not today, tomorrow. So all of you that are online, you guys probably know my number, and you know my email. Text me and say, how many words have you written? Challenge me, please challenge me so I can get better. But this Central Mississippi Advanced Toastmasters Club started in 2009. And it was started because I was a district governor. And the thing is that our district hadn't been distinguished for 3 years. And I said, oh my, what will we do now? So I had to make a decision. So it came across my mind one morning, start an advanced club. Mississippi doesn't have, and we have the lowest number of DTMs. I think we had 10 at the time. I said, we would start this club to increase the number of DTMs in Mississippi because the other states had many DTMs, but we did not. And so it worked. I'm not sure how many DTMs we have now. I've lost count. But this is our 11th year, and I'm excited about being here. We even got to the point where we changed our name to Central Mississippi Advancing Toastmasters to draw in more people. Now that gets me to this point of asking for new members. This is what I need from you. If you are not a Toastmaster and you want to be, then join, and I can help you with that easily. The other thing is that we're in need of maybe 6 members so we can be President Distinguished. So I need 6 members. Either you can be new or dual members or reinstated members, whichever one you want to be. We need 6. So you can be a member of more than one club: Toastmaster Gray, Toastmaster Octavius Mayott, Toastmaster Hart. You can be a member of more than one club. And if you're going to choose a club, why not choose Central Mississippi Advancing Toastmasters? We need you. Toastmasters done wonderful things for me. If it had not been for Toastmasters, I would not own my own business, and I would not be a corporate trainer with Nissan. All of my professional training came from Toastmasters, the only place. Not my master's, not my undergrad, came from being a Toastmaster. I'm a lifer with Toastmasters. So join me, become a member of CMAT. And if you don't want to become a member of CMAT, become a member of any club. Just become a member of Toastmasters. I tell you, and I can vouch for it, it is a wonderful investment. Not bad at all. Less than $100 a year. Not bad. I return control to our Toastmaster today, Toastmaster Willie Johnson.
Thank you, Toastmaster Mary McClendon. And on my sheet, you still have one last thing to do, to introduce any new CMAT members.
I don't think they're all on here, but let me see. Jamar is on here. He's new. Jamar, you want to show us your face and wave your hand? Davis, Toastmaster Davis. He may have stepped away. And then we have Toastmaster. Where's Toastmaster Crossley? Oh, she's over there. Wave your hand, Toastmaster Crossley. Our coach, and she's doing such a great job. Just today, we entered 3 new Toastmasters because of Toastmaster Crossley. And then we have another Toastmaster dual member, Toastmaster Willie Johnson is also a member of CMAT. And I think I've covered everyone. Toastmaster Gigi is back, and we're glad to have her back. Let me see, Toastmaster, did I miss anybody? Toastmaster Hayes, you're pretty good at keeping with everything. We would like to add Toastmaster Gray to this list. Grayer to this list.
Okay.
That's my Yazoo County girl.
I don't see that you missed anybody. I'm not sure. You were talking to Miss Betsy's iPad, Miss Betsy, and she finally unmuted. I forgot what you were saying. Guest? Is she a guest, Miss Betts?
I am a member of Reach and Beyond Toastmasters.
Oh, wonderful! I heard we were having 2 people from Reach and Beyond, but I didn't know who the other person was. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
But you can become a dual member as well. Only $37, y'all. $37 to be a dual member through September. $37. Don't eat for a week. Don't eat for a day.
Okay.
All right, take the microphone, y'all. Take the microphone.
Yeah, we're running out of time, but thank you so much, Toastmaster McClendon. I'll let you toss it back to the Toastmaster.
I return control to our Toastmaster today, distinguished Toastmaster Willie Johnson, also past district governor.
Yay.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And my time is winding down to be the Toastmaster of today. And one of the things that I want to say real quick, Charlene Greer, thank you for mentioning Yazoo City, because that's where Zig Ziglar was from.
That's right.
And me too. And me too.
At this time, since it looks like all of my duties are over, is there I'm looking at a poll. Sonny, did you want them to take a poll first?
The poll is launched now, so if everyone would vote for who your favorite table topics speaker was. And of course, you cannot vote if you're a co-host, and I've got several co-hosts, like 4 or 5, but would you just go ahead and do that? And while we're doing that, thank you so much, everyone, for visiting with us tonight. Again, thank you, my panelists, Tasha Hart and Carrie Perrian Smith and Meredith Coleman McGee. You all were wonderful with sharing your insight. Thank you, Facebook Live. For those of you who are watching us live and perhaps on the replay, please feel free to get in touch with us and learn a little bit more about what Central Mississippi's Advancing Toastmasters may have to offer you. And at this time, I am going to stop the poll at the number of votes that we have. And I can tell you that the winner comes from Yazoo County. And let's give it up for Charlene Grayer. Charlene Grayer, would you just unmute and say a little something? Thank you for, if your life was a book, you would be that happy girl from Yazoo County. Congratulations.
Just gotta unmute.
Thank you, everyone. I am so excited that you would like to read about the Yazoo County girl.
Wonderful. Thank you again. At this time, I want to share that virtual gift bag that I was telling you about. I got the idea of making it virtual from Toastmaster Johnson. I knew I wanted to have door prizes, but then I thought about the resources for every member who was a panelist, every guest who was a panelist, and a couple of others. I want to briefly go through it, and then if you are here, you can just mention what you see on the screen. So let's go ahead and start. Again, this is a virtual gift bag. These are resources with links. You actually will get a PDF into the right into the chat room. I will put the file there. So this is what you will be getting, and we hope you were inspired and motivated to take action, to start or continuing finding your voice so that you can write your story. And enjoy these resources from our guests and attendees of the CMAT Open House, How to Write Right Now. So Tasha Hart, we already met her. This is what you will get from Tasha Hart. You will click on her link and you will find more about her book, Puzzled to Purpose, Excellence is Never Achieved by Accident. And in 30 seconds or less, Tasha, this book is about again?
It's about 9 steps to finding your purpose, starting with get out of the box.
Ooh, all right, getting out of the box. Well, Puzzled to Purpose. Thank you very much. Next, Carrie Perrion-Smith. You have 2 books out that I know about, Striking Networking Goal in a Relationship Economy and Like You Own It, Breakthrough Strategies for Confident Living. And so I have a link to your website. So Carrie, when people go there, what can you suggest that they do?
Not make fun of my website because it's an antique. Sometimes the cobbler's son has no shoes and I would be guilty. But definitely, hey, you guys, if you just want to chat about your book project, call me. That's what I got. Don't send me any business, just call me. And yeah, if you want to buy my book, this one is the latest one, and it's just loaded with tips and tricks for being a more confident you. And that's everything, right?
Awesome. Who doesn't want to be more confident? And confidence breeds competence. Love it. Love it. Next, and we have next, Meredith Coleman McGee. I have two for you, Meredith McGee. When they click for tips to publish my book, Meredith, just in a nutshell, what can they find out?
They will find out some information about the publishing industry, and also a sample book proposal is in this document, which is it's like a business plan for publishing a book. It's very important to have when you're starting out.
Awesome. And how about this? This is next. Nishita.
Okay. This is my children's book series. And my character, Nishita, teaches civics, government, and history. And one is a picture book, and the other 2 are chapter books.
And we have a link here. This is a link to the video.
Oh, this is the link to the video. Okay, the video is the first volume, which is Nishita visits the Smith Robinson Museum, which is my favorite museum in the city of Jackson, because Smith Robinson was our first Black politician.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I watched your video where you're reading to young people this book. And this is another option for an author to read their book and use the social media and YouTube. So thank you again. Next, Dr. Janice K. Neal Vincent, are you there? Still here? And if so,
yes,
I have links.
I'm still here.
I have
Do
links.
you hear me? Do you hear me?
Yes, I do. What we have for the resource from you is clicking to a download a free sample of A Little of Me, A Little of You spoken word choir book. And again, if you would just in 10, 20 seconds, just tell us again a little bit about A Little of Me, Little of You.
A Little of Me, A Little of You spoken word choir book includes all of us, no matter who we are. It is divided into 5 different parts. One of those is culture. Another one is anti-bullying. Another one is religion. And it just goes on. We'll find ourselves there. There are voices that speak together. There are leaders who talk the poem. And There you have a little of me, a little of you. As a matter of fact, Meredith Coleman McGee is my second publisher of the second book, A Little of Me, A Little of You. And she did a very good job with this second book. Thank you so much again, Meredith.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. That's wonderful to know that you have one of your clients right here. All right, Willie Johnson, we've got a free copy of Chapter 3. Tell us about your book, Be Amazing.
All right, Be Amazing. Yes, download a free chapter of Chapter 3. I was thinking about this pandemic that we're going through right now, and all the things that you're hearing in the news media. One of the things we have to do is we have to stay positive and have a positive attitude. That's why I'm allowing you to download that chapter free. It's all about a positive attitude.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Again, these links are live. It will be in a PDF, but you'll be able to click on them. Next, one more thing from you, 60-day plan, tip book writing and publishing. What do we have here? Is this for Mary McClendon?
Yes, that's for Mary McClendon. And that's for Mary McClendon, that she's had it for about a year already. So now that she has it twice, and everyone else, basically what I've done is, just to get started, a tip book. They're one of those little 30 pages, 40-page little tip books. You can do it in 60 days. If you can't do it in 60 days, on the bottom you'll see you can turn it into a 90-day project and get her done.
All right, well, good. And again, that link will take you to the full document. All right, next up, we've got Gigi Gates. She's one of our newest members of our CMAT club.
Okay, the book, Pushing Through the Fear, it's what inspired me to write it. I first had to learn, I had to get out of my own comfort zone before I can get to the level of success that I desire. And that's what it's about. Give you tools and tips. Don't be afraid of your fears. Just step out there, trust the process, and continue to move forward to the place you want to be in life. And that's the gist of it.
Awesome. And I know you're the author of actually 13 books that you have self-published. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you were our speaker at our last meeting along with Toastmaster Willie Johnson. And that's what inspired me to do this as an open house, because I thought so many people are speakers and they have a story within them. And there is an audience that is waiting to hear your voice and hear your message. And I thought if I could get a little inspiration and motivation and share it with others, it would come through. So I thank you for being a part of making this happen, as well as Toastmaster Johnson. Thank you, Gigi Gates.
Thank you.
All right, Leslie Hayes, for a lot of you may not know, or know, probably a lot of you do know that Leslie Hayes is also the host of the Kixie Sunday Morning Magazine. Leslie, tell us briefly what that is about.
Thank you so much. This is a public affairs magazine. It's a radio magazine, and I'm always looking for interviews. What I do is I interview people that are out in the community. What are they doing for the community? What do they have that they would like to share with the community? And I will say this particular drawing that you're seeing, or this particular part of it, Meredith McGee helped me put it together, and Sonny Fridge added the picture. I'll tell you, we're all connected in one way or the other. So I'm always looking for a guest, and I'll be glad to interview everyone who's been on this, on the virtual meeting today.
Awesome, thank you. And that's Kixie 107.5 FM. I listen to it on iHeartRadio. It still comes for me through this app. So again, thank you, Leslie, for sharing. And now we have one of our guests who asked the great question earlier. She and her 10-year-old daughter, Maya Imani Haynes, wrote a book called Say No to the N-Word. Would you unmute yourself, Leslie, Dr. Leslie Haynes, and tell us briefly about this book? And the way I know her is because Isabel Kaduri and I, who are online members, we work together for Isabel's Gavel Club, and Maya is one of the students, and every Sunday as a Toastmaster. And I just found out recently Maya is a co-author with her mom. So Leslie, go ahead,
Yes.
Dr. Haynes.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor to be part of your meeting. I really appreciate being invited to join you all. I've learned so much. So the book is called Say No to the N-Word, which is extremely appropriate for this time in our world and all the pandemics that are happening, as we all know. I was inspired to write this because of the experiences of my own and of my children, literally hearing the N-word. And we all know how important languages and words are to our mental constructs of others, particularly brown and Black people. So we need to reverse this. And it's most timely right now to reverse how we relate to ourselves, how we relate to others, how others relate to us. And so this is a book particularly for young children. I am a trained pediatrician and pediatric emergency medicine physician. I currently work at the FDA, and they've been asking me to join their Toastmasters as well, so I have to make some decisions. But in any case, this book is self-published on Amazon, and I would love to have a wider audience. So that's why I'm asking about publishing and how to get this maybe into schools and to get into a wider audience, because it's crucial. Here's just the book. I have physical copies. If anyone wants any, please just contact me, or you can get on Amazon, but I do have author copies, and it features kids of all different types of races, cultures, ethnicities, discussing the N-word. The N-word is not written in here, so it's a safe book. And it's amazing what kids know at a young age, whether they know what the N-word is or not. So it's important for parents, instructors to teach them early on and encounter this for them and educate them.
Okay, well, we do have a link straight to this book, and also I will pass this information on and put it in our Facebook Live with your email and more information. But thank you so much for sharing your book. And although Maya didn't come on to say hi, tell her that we said hello to her. And she was Table Topics Master yesterday, and she did an excellent job.
She's learning so much from you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, thank you. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Oh, and look, it's me. So this is a book that I wrote, ebook from a couple of years ago, and I haven't done as much as I'd like with it. But what you will find in 7 days is that each day there is some action for you to take about living your life like it's golden. So this is 7-Day E-Coach. And if you've ever asked yourself, what are my unique gifts and talents, and how do I develop them, and how do I get over my fears, and how do I become more consistent, and do I need a coach or mentor? This is going to be a great exercise for you. I just recently, this week, put it on teachable.com. It will be going live next week. And so therefore, if you'd like to take this course and just email me, I may let you take it free for me, so you can give me some feedback and let me know what you liked about it and maybe what I might want to change. But I love this opportunity. I love this book. I'm a John Maxwell trainer, and I got some of my content and curriculum through the years as I just became more interested in helping others become the best version of themselves. So 7-Day E-Coach, I love it, and I hope you will too. And Mary McClendon, as we said, she is from Nissan fame. And Mary, if you just say a few words about your business.
My business is McClendon Training and Development. I've learned a lot through Toastmasters, and I'm able to do it very well. I get evaluations all the time, and they always say, "You're a great presenter." And I enjoy receiving that. But I just want to say that when it comes to that book, it's not so much as that I'm slowful in writing the book. It's just that I want it to be a #1 seller. So I want to be a #1 author. And I think that if I'm not going to be that, then I don't want to be an author at all. So I got to change my mindset. But I want to.
That's a chapter in my 7-Day E-Coach.
Change my mindset. Yes. But I really want to take this time, being a member of CMAT, starting CMAT and all of that. I'm so excited. And Toastmaster Fridge, thank you so much for the hard work that you put in, along with the people that work with you to put this together. A great job. I really appreciate you being a member of CMAT. Also, all of the panelists, all of the authors and all, thank you so much for coming on. And I just ask, me being a minister and all, I ask that God would bless the work of your hands, that you will continue to get better and better at what you do, and that you will sell many books. Yeah. And at the same time, I'll probably be selling many books with you. But I
Thank you
work for
so
Nissan as a trainer, and being a trainer, I'm teaching all over North America right now, and I'm excited about that. And Toastmasters gave me my start, gave me everything that I needed to be the very best that I am now.
Thank
Madam
you.
President.
Yes, thank you so much. And then Evelyn Baugh, last but not least, Evelyn Baugh, she has a special program that she is the liaison for.
Oh, hello there. Yes, of course, I am the liaison for the first prison club, Toastmasters Prison Club in Mississippi, Inside Out Club. And as you can see, our mission is just simply to help these guys to communicate in a more positive way. And then once they get on the outside, they have a automatic networking that they have access to. Thus far, we've been successful in seeing 2 members that have been released from the Inside Out Club, and one of them is within our division. And we're excited about that. He was supposed to be crowned the DTM this year. Also, we're just looking for helpers that will come out and join the prison club. At this point, we're not doing anything. As you know, we're in a virtual world, and there's no virtual world inside the prison. So pray for us that we will be able to pick this prison club program back up in the fall or sooner than that. Back to you, Sonny.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Baugh, for sharing with us something else that people may not know about, how they can use their skills and gifts and talents to help others that can use the resources that Toastmasters has to offer. I'm really happy that all of you were able to stay, and I'm getting ready to put that link into the chat. It's been real wonderful. This has been amazing. As Toastmaster Willie Johnson says in his book, I want every one of us to go and be amazing. Okay, and Bess Blackwell, I have your email. I see that you're asking for me to send this to you. So Bess Blackwell, is the Bess Blackwell a guest of Toastmaster Ransom Crossley?
No, I'm a member.
Okay, who's Bess?
No,
Oh, okay, hi, Bess.
Beyond.
That's right,
The
reach
Best
our
Toastmaster.
bag. Well, welcome again. Thank you for joining, and we will, I will email that to you. No problem. Thank you. And I know my
Toastmaster,
yes.
Toastmaster Mayot is one of my mentorees.
Okay, wonderful. You get around, Miss Mary. You get
And
around.
we have,
Free
yeah,
moment.
and I see Toastmaster Liddell is on here as well as one of our guests that came.
Yeah.
Toastmaster
Say
Liddell.
Say hello to us, Toastmaster Liddell. Are you able to unmute? She may not be able to.
Yeah, I think she's going to work it. She's looking for it.
He's
Okay,
looking
good,
for it.
good.
And let's see who else.
I know we went over.
There you go.
Okay.
She's ready.
There she is. Go ahead, Toastmaster Liddell.
I enjoyed everything that I was able to get to hear.
Wonderful. Well, this will be a replay. I may do a little tweak in editing, but there will be a replay. So if we have your email address, everyone, we will send it to you if you wanted to take a look at it again and maybe just take some notes. And so wonderful being here with everyone. If is there anyone else who needs to say something?
Wait, we didn't acknowledge Toastmaster Vanessa Harris. Vanessa Harris
Where's
is
our
on
colleague?
here. Here she is. She's hiding. She's hiding.
One of our favorite friends. Well, even if you don't want to unmute, would you say something, Toastmaster Harris? Because you are always inspiring and
she's got both things on. She has her phone. Need to turn the volume on one of them off.
Well, fellow Toastmasters, I have thoroughly enjoyed this evening. I'm reminded of the quote from Mary Kay where she said, seminars is the place where your dreams are given the power to move forward. I have thoroughly been given the great power tonight. I'm excited about jumping into my book writing career. I want to thank everyone that has participated tonight and give you all an inspiring, great job. Way to go, Toastmasters.
And Vanessa is our next member. She's just been waiting for my application. She's the next member.
Yes, Toastmaster McClendon, as a matter of fact, I sent a note to the treasurer tonight telling her that very thing.
I'd like to say thank you for inviting me, and also Willie Johnson has been my mentor as well. So it's nice seeing you again as well. I just love you all. You just are the epitome of excellence, and I brag about your clubs all over the country. Thank you.
Great. Unmute yourself, Sonny. Unmute yourself. I couldn't.
I loved your table topics guest, Artemis. I loved your table topics. Yes. Thank you. All right, everyone. At this point, I am going to stop on Facebook. I'm going to stop recording there, stop my live stream.